Open Court is rolling from Las Vegas and the Wynn Hotel. It's another coaches edition. Let's introduce the crew. Brand spanking new head coach of the Phoenix Suns, Igor Kokoshkov, to my right. Fred Hoiberg from the Chicago Bulls. Mike D'Antoni, who I believe is our first repeat customer here on Open Court. That's a very impressive distinction. Well, we appreciate you coming back. Nate McMillan from the Indiana Pacers, Steve Kerr from the world champion Golden State Warriors, and Tyronn Lue from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Thank you, one and all. We tape these shows because people ask, how'd you get all these guys together in the middle of the season? We tape these shows in July and in Las Vegas because you guys are all out here at this time. And I'm curious, these are some of the few times you guys can really get together and talk. What are the conversations, Nate, that only coaches can have with each other?
Well, we talk about, a lot of things. First we congratulate the champions and, the guys who've had successful seasons, and all the coaches, work hard during the season. We're so competitive that we don't have that opportunity during the season or during the game to actually communicate. We wave and we may nod to each other, but, you do have an opportunity to talk about family and, your draft picks and your team and your success.
Is it basketball stuff like, deep X's and O's sort of stuff, or is it league gossip like the rest of us talk about? Who picked up DeMarcus Cousins on the cheap, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that too. Mostly, I would say mostly basketball. I think there's a lot of talk about rules, when I talk to coaches, it seems like a lot of people want to talk about the way the league is heading, the direction. The recent years, it's like, what's going on with the big man. We're becoming such a perimeter league now, and trends and that kind of stuff. And you get more of an opportunity to talk about those kind of things in the summer, because when it's going in the season, you're just going.
The one thing that I've noticed in being in the league now, going into year 4, is how close of a group we really are. And you don't get a big opportunity to sit down and discuss things. The other time is in September when we have our coaches meetings in Chicago. But, just little things like talking about former players that we may have had relationships with that are moved on to other teams, how they're doing. But it's a lot of talk about basketball. I asked Steve Kerr how he gets his guys to move so well and that type of thing. And, it's just, it really is a fun time to sit down in a casual situation and have good talks.
Did he share anything with you?
No. He wouldn't tell me that.
Just me being a young coach, in my 3rd season, I just like to get a chance to pick a lot of the coaches' brains, on how to deal with certain players, how to deal with certain situations, and just always learning. I think every summer I take 5 teams and I have my video guy break down their ATOs after timeout plays, and I just kind of study the trends, study how guys are so great at getting guys open shots, and Coach D'Antoni's changed the game. I think the 5-man rolling, space with 4 shooters, has changed our game. Being around, just talking to the guys, and now it's been a crazy summer for us. So a lot of guys have, different questions for different reasons. But I just love being around all the coaches and get as much advice I can get.
I've heard some things about your summer. We'll get into that during the show. You may be a young coach, but as we sit here right now, Igor is yet to coach an NBA game as a head coach. Mike, as the grizzled veteran,
yeah.
on Open Court here, what advice would you have for Igor or any first-time head coach about how to be successful, what pitfalls to avoid?
Well, first of all, I think we're still trying to figure out how to be successful. One's figured it out. The rest of trying to figure it out. Enjoy it. It's a rare opportunity and a great opportunity, and it's exciting. And, as an assistant coach, you're into it. You're really, you do what you do, but you go home, have a glass of wine, go to sleep. As a head coach, you go home and cry all night. So he'll learn real quick the stresses, but he'll handle it. And I guess the bottom line is just enjoy it. It's a great ride.
And you've worked under a lot of really successful head coaches, most recently Quinn Snyder, Larry Brown, Flip Saunders, Alvin Gentry over the years. By watching them, what do you feel like your priority is in terms of this is the one thing I'm definitely going to do when I get that job, now that I'm a head coach?
Well, I know I can feel it. I'm on the rookie orientation program right now, and just trying to, you know, at some days you feel you're overwhelmed with all these informations. You're starting from scratch, you know, on every different level. Definitely one of the first things that we did was putting a good staff and surrounded, creating healthy environment around yourself that you feel comfortable and get to the point that you can work on an EXO. And I'm trying to, like I said, sometimes I feel overwhelmed with connecting with the players. In the last couple of weeks, we were talking about pre-draft and the workouts and getting ready for summer league. And a lot of projects are waiting, like Coach Lou was talking about. Summer is time when we know the players got to get better, and it's a time where the coaches get better too. So a lot of projects sitting in the drawer waiting for me that I can focus on EXO.
You know, Mike alluded to it a moment ago, the difference between being an assistant and all of a sudden being the head coach. Is there any way to explain to someone who hasn't made the transition how big a gap that is?
Well, you know, you have that opportunity you working side by side, you know, with these coaches, and you're experiencing a lot of what they go through. You know, you're with them 24/7, pretty much. Every game, you know, win or lose, you're in the back, you're conversating about what you need to do or how you should improve. The thing that you don't get is the media. You know, dealing with the media and having to, basically talk every day about your team. You know, sometimes 2-3 times a day. You do feel that responsibility of how a state, city will wake up in the morning. You take on that type of responsibility. You have an impact on how the state of Indiana is going to feel the next morning by the result of your game. So I mean, that you can't explain. You have to go through that. And, you know, when you move to that number one seat, there's a lot of pressure. You know, you got a lot on your shoulders.
Fred, what are the easiest mistakes to make as a head coach, particularly when you're new to it?
Well, that's a great question. You know, and again, I think, you know, I was very fortunate when I moved from a college coach into the NBA. One of the first guys I contacted was Steve, and he was coming off his first year and won a championship. And I actually had lunch with him at the summer league, and we sat down and discussed a lot of different things that go into being a head coach at this level. You know, a lot of it being relationship building, and you know, he told me some unique experiences that he did and some different sports that he looked at as far as getting ideas. You know, going to you know, the Seattle Seahawks training camp and just seeing some different things that they did to bond the team together. And you know, one of the first things I did was I flew all around the world to meet with each player and, you know, start building that very important relationship in the early stages. But that's the other thing, you know, with these coaches is just how open they are. And, you know, we're studying right now a lot of different trends in the league, obviously with the switching defenses. And, you know, we've called around to different coaches. We've called Mike's staff and talked about a lot of things. And they're very open about, you know, how they teach it. So that's important when you're coming into it for the first time. You know, for, I guess, me early, I was very fortunate to be able to meet with a guy like Steve, you know, to help on the path, you know, put you on the path, and the things that he did, you know, as an early coach to build the culture that he did, obviously to win multiple championships.
Steve, what have you found is the most important habit to develop? Something that keeps you either grounded or keeps your program, your culture, I know, which is overused, on a certain track?
Having great players, maybe. That's kind of the key to everything. But you know, once you have the guys who can do it at the highest level, you're just trying to keep the train moving forward all the time. And Fred's right. We all learn from each other, you know. And I think you know, every coach has a different style based on his own personality, but it has to be authentic, you know. And I think, you know, we were talking about what Mike did, kind of changing the game offensively. You know, what I saw with the confidence that he gave the Phoenix players when we were in Phoenix. Like, I'd never seen kind of that style of like getting mad when a guy passed up a shot, you know, and really like not only encouraging guys to shoot, but like developing this mentality and this attitude of we're going. And that was very authentic to Mike's vision and his personality. And you know, Nate this year in Indiana, I'm watching his team. They kicked our butts twice. Like, they were tough. They were like, they just got after it defensively. And it fit his personality. I remember him playing in Seattle. That's who he was. So I think that's the biggest thing. Whoever you are as a person, your team should reflect, you know, what your values are and kind of what you believe in.
Lots more to get to with our head coaches here from Las Vegas as Open Court continues. Stick with us.
Regardless of what happened, it's going to gnaw if you lose, and it doesn't matter how you lose. But I'm looking forward to, you know, and as everybody, we hope DeMarcus screws them up, you know, or Steve screws them up. Somebody's got to screw them up.
Welcome back to Open Court. Head coaches here from Las Vegas. I want to ask each of you about stuff going on with your teams. Steve, at one point last season, you let your players coach themselves. Will you be coaching at all during the regular season?
It may not matter. They're not going to listen to me this year anyway. No, it was, we had to try a lot of different things this year just because our guys interest. And I think you got to be creative, come up with ways to keep their attention.
There is a perception, particularly with the DeMarcus Cousins signing, that you guys are a lock to win a fourth championship in 5 years. How different does that feel from where you sit?
I think it's, I think as you go, it gets harder because the novelty of the first one has worn off and it becomes more of a grind. And I think getting DeMarcus is actually going to really help us, not just from a talent standpoint, but you know, he's a dominant figure on and off the floor, and our guys are going to have to really adapt to him, and it'll be a good challenge for them. I think something that they'll really embrace.
Mike, you've had a couple of instances now where you got right to the doorstep of the NBA Finals and then couldn't get it done. As a coach, how much does it gnaw at you until you get a chance to do something about it again?
Well, you know, regardless of what happened, it's going to gnaw if you lose. And it doesn't matter how you lose. You know, I felt great about the team, and when the series was over, we had, you know, a desire to let's get going right now. You know, run it back at them and let's go. I'm sure they don't have that same desire yet. Steve's out to the Greek islands and stuff. So, you know, we have guys that are hungry, and that's the difference where they are, where we are. You know, you coach each year has a different story and a different storyline, different people. We've got to insert some new people on the team, and so does everybody else. And it's that's what makes coaching fun. It's different every year. But I'm looking forward to, you know, and as everybody, we hope DeMarcus screws them up, you know, or Steve screws them up. Somebody's got to screw them up. So, you know, but it's going to be great. And I got one bone to pick.
Yeah.
They've been a lock for about 3 years. Now everybody thinks they're a lock. I kind of thought that. So,
Fair
anyway.
Ty, obviously expectations are going to be different in Cleveland now. And I got to think the whole dynamic of the organization is going to be different. How do you expect that your job will change this upcoming season without LeBron there, one of the all-time greats on your roster?
I don't think the dynamic of the organization changes. I think, you know, LeBron was great. You know, he was big in everything we did. And, but he built a culture there along with Dan Gilbert and willing to spend the money to make us a championship caliber team. So I don't think our vision changes as far as building the culture and what we want to do and the type of basketball we want to play and the type of players we want to, you know, surround the organization with. You know, with LeBron leaving, you know, that's a big part of, you know, who we were. And he meant so much, you know, I've said it before, to his friends, to his family, to any organization he played for, the coaching staff, the players, the city he's played in. And it's a big loss for us. But now, you know, I think, you know, we're excited for a different and new challenge. And I think the biggest thing for a young team is just being a professional off the court, you know. And LeBron showed so much of that for us, our young guys, of how to come in early, you know, get your treatments, you know, get your shots up, committing himself to the game. And we're going to miss that from him. So he's going to have to come from the coaching staff, from the veteran guys that we have around, just to show him and continue to have that culture, in Cleveland. So, I'm excited. So we'll see what happens.
Nate, a year ago, your team traded away a superstar player, and you improved.
What we did last year, we wanted to create a culture. We lost Paul George, great player, great talent, and we were coming in with Victor and Sabonis. And my thought with that group was, what do we want to become? We want to create a culture that a place where guys play the game the right way. You play the game together. You respect the game. And I thought we was able to create that. I think if you do that, I think all the teams in the league have talent. But when you play the game right way, and you play the game together, you're going to give yourself a chance to win games. And we did this season. We want to continue to build off of that. And we're looking forward to getting started this season.
Fred, you've had an interesting progression the last couple of years. You had a more veteran team 2 years ago, obviously trying to get into the postseason, which you did. And then last year, rebuilding with a core of young guys. As a coach, I know you want to win, obviously, but what's more rewarding?
Well, I really like the young group that we have. I think the front office has done an excellent job of putting a young core together that we can build around. And, the thing I'm really excited about this year is we're going to have roster continuity where, the last few years we've had a different makeup to our team each year. And, as coaches, we try to put the best system and best style of play in to utilize our players' skill sets. And, we've got a system in now that we like certain things. We've also been studying a lot of things this offseason and what we can add and what we should take away from the system that we had last year. But, those early stages, especially with a young team, when you have to teach as much and put in offensive and defensive concepts, we've got a lot of things in already. The other thing with this group is, we never really got a true feel last year for who we could be because of Levine's injury in the offseason. And then when he did come back, his first 2 games, we were playing our best stretch of basketball. He was on a 20-minute limit. He had 18 in one game, 22 and wins against Detroit and Miami. And then we're playing Golden State. Chris Dunn goes in for a dunk and falls on his face, and he's out with a concussion for 6 weeks. So, I think we've got a good young core that I'm really excited to go into the season with. So, yeah, it has been different each year, but I really do like this young group of guys.
And Igor, you step into a situation where you've got a young star in Devin Booker and the #1 overall pick, obviously. I know you got a bunch of stuff being thrown at you. You're just on the job. But have you given yourself sort of a timeline for we want to be here in 2 seasons, we want to be here in 3 seasons?
Well, a key word for us is going to be, and it is, get better and improve. I mean, this is a professional league. This is not the development league. We have a bunch of young guys, but one thing we're on the same page as an organization, we don't want to use the fact that we're young and talented just to use as alibi not to win a game. So we're going to keep continuous developing young guys, working with young guys. We have to win the games too. We're not comparing ourselves to any other teams. We understand we're in the West. It's a really brutal. West is pretty brutal, and it's very competitive. But we have to show improvement. We have to create a healthy environment with the guys who are willing to get better and to invest in themselves and to make the whole city of Phoenix proud again. I mean, I was fortunate to be part of the organization when right behind with Coach Antoni left and Steve was still there as a general manager. I mean, it was a golden years of Phoenix Suns organization, and it was a special day. So there's nothing better as being part of the winning organization. And if we all have desire to get there, that's going to be good. I mean, no big picture. No, in a way that there's no big promises and. Because I want to be honest to our team, myself, and the fans who really support the team. And we're going to take one practice at a time, one game at a time, and feel that we're better and that we're improving and that we're going in the right direction. So, and we're not playing any games to lose. That's for sure, and that's going to be our mentality.
Don't go anywhere. Lots more open court coaches from Vegas coming up.
I think it's really fun right now. I think the players are unbelievably skilled, but it's dramatically different. You no longer have to deal with the big guy down low, but you got to deal with the space and all the speed and quickness on the perimeter. So it's just a totally different game.
you first arrived?
You know, one thing that gives me a lot of hope, just for America, I think the kids are respectful, work hard, and good to coach. You know, back when I started playing back in the 70s, I don't think it was that, I mean, it was good, it was okay. I think it's better. I think the youth is, and I know a lot of old people like to bash them sometimes, but I think they do a great job. And the ones that they give me energy, you know, to see them, you know, 22 trying to make the league and all that, and I find it refreshing. So I think the league's better. It's a better place.
Yeah, it's a different league than when I came in. It's just a much younger league. It's almost like a college atmosphere, you know, with these young guys. And I was just talking to my assistants about we're talking about super teams, and we're calling you know, Golden State a super team, and they are, you know, with this group. But you know, I came in when there was a Bird and Pesh and McHale and Dennis Johnson. You know, you had you know, 5 players that could be all-stars and were solid players. You know, in the West, it was Magic and Cooper and Worthy and Kareem, you know, all on the same team. You know, I mean, it was a lot of talent. And I think, you know, because of the expansion, the talent has spread it out. But it's a different league. It was you know, it was more of a men's league, you know, years ago. And now it's a young man's league. You know, you got guys who are coming in who are 18, 19, 20 years old.
Steve, for you, you seem to be doing pretty well with this version of the league. Are there things you miss about the 90s era NBA when you came up?
Well, I don't know if it's anything I miss, but it's so different because back then you had all these dominant low post guys.
Right.
You know, it was such a different game. One night to the next, you're having to go against Ewing or Olajuwon, David Robinson, you know, Shaq, Tim Duncan. It seemed like there were about 9 or 10 really dominant low post guys. So the whole game was different. And I think maybe because the younger players now are coming up through the ranks, the big guys, they're coming up shooting threes and handling the ball. They're also coming to the league maybe after 1 year of college. So they're not developing that low post game. So the game is just spread out entirely. And I think it's really fun right now. I think the players are unbelievably skilled, but it's dramatically different, you know, just watching like on, you know, classic sports, whatever, and you see a finals game from the 80s,
yeah.
Nobody takes a three. You know, the game's played in a radius of like that, and now it's like this. Yeah. And so you have to cover so much ground. You no longer have to deal with the big guy down low, but you got to deal with the space and all the speed and quickness on the perimeter. So it's just a totally different game.
But this could all be changing, right? I mean, you've got a young big guy there who can play a little inside, a little outside, and we had a bunch of big guys taken in this draft. Do you see a time where we revert back at least a little bit to some post play?
Well, it seems like it just, you know, watching and coaching overseas and watching what the game is right now, seems like we're posting up more guards and then the bigs are playing in the perimeter. So it is about matchups. It's about mismatches. And every good offense is based on the balance between inside game and getting in the lane and shooting threes. So we can be ignorant and accept or don't, you know, when it comes to the analytics, but, you know, attack the ring, get in the paint and shoot threes. So we are searching for those kind of players.
Now, Fred mentioned studying defensive switching, which is all over the place right now in the NBA. Is there a point at which you can switch too much? It seemed like sometimes during the playoffs, teams would give up the switch too easily and allow the player that the offense wanted to attack to be attacked.
I mean, it's about what you believe in. And I think, you know, Mike and Steve, as far as switching, they're the two best teams at doing it. You know, it's funny because you got to have the personnel to do it.
Right.
And sometimes if you don't have the personnel, you still got to live with it. And, you know, it's a tough situation, a tough dynamic. When they go to the small lineup with Draymond Green at the 5, I mean, they can switch 1 through 5. I mean, you have Klay Thompson, who's probably one of the best defenders I've seen in a long time, who can guard perimeter, but he also can guard the post up. And, you know, it's not a disadvantage. And then if you think it is, they might make, you know, 2 out of 7 hook shots or whatever, but, you know, the game has changed where you want to give up 2s and not 3s. So if you can keep a player in between the basket and in between the man and the basket, that's what you want. It's tough to play against. I mean, when you're switching out on shooters, you run pick and roll, they're switching, so now everything gets stagnant. You got to play one-on-one basketball. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, oh, they're holding the basketball, they're playing one-on-one. Well, they're switching everything. So you can run around all you want,
right,
and the guy comes open, they're switching out. So Korver doesn't have a shot, or, you know, Gordon doesn't have a shot. So now you got to get to the mismatch as fast as possible, and you got to play one-on-one to take advantage of that, to make 2 play the ball, and now you spray it out for jump shots. So it's just funny just hearing people talk about, you know, you playing one-on-one. Well, if they're switching 1 through 5, they're switching all the pin downs. What are you going to play? It doesn't, you know, it doesn't make sense. So it's definitely tough. It's changed the game, and, you know, once again, these 2 guys are changing the game, you know, once again. But, you know, we all got to catch up.
Fred, how do you adapt to those trends while keeping in mind your personnel, who you have on the floor, who's available to you, and what makes sense for your team?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that you have to determine based on what your players can do. And, you know, we study, just like everybody up here, just like all 30 of us in this position, who's got great switch attack. Utah's an unbelievable switch attack team. They do some great things with it. Obviously, you know, Golden State with all their cutting and back screening and slipping and, you know, down screen, slip to the basket. You know, there's just so many good things, and it's hard. I mean, you know, you look at, you know, if I'm not mistaken, Golden State had the least ISOs in the league in the regular season, but based on all the switching that happened in the playoffs, you know, their ISOs doubled or tripled as it went on. And, you know, obviously they've got some great individual players, but they also keep movement. When their guys are in ISO situations, you look at that backside, they're not standing over there. They're all moving, and they're almost like running in a little circle, and then all of a sudden, boom, one of them breaks free and gets a layup right at the basket. So, you know, again, it's just studying all the different teams and what they do against the switching, and how can we utilize that for our team.
Mike, I began the segment by asking you the most positive change in the NBA since in your time involved. Before we go to break, if you had the chance to unilaterally change or eliminate any NBA rule, what would it be?
California wouldn't be part of the league. That might help people, especially the northern part of California, that Bay Area.
So more of a geographical.
Yeah, it's more of a, you know, we have a hard time traveling there. I don't think it's good. What changed? Hey, you know how much money they're making? I don't think they're going to change anything. I think they're good.
Well, you're in charge in this scenario.
I think the game is good. Players are more skilled. We're going and switching now. They'll figure it out, and then you'll have to go someplace else, or bigs will come back. I mean, it'll keep evolving, and you just try to stay a little bit ahead, and have the personnel. You got to have the personnel.
Right.
I mean, it starts all there. And I think what's helped me is that from the owner, general manager, star players, and then the coach who's down here. I mean, they're all in line. And so I don't have that call at night. You know, what are y'all doing? Well, you know what we're doing. We're playing exactly the way we all want to play. And when you have that, then you have a chance to be successful. And, you know, we missed 27 straight threes, game 7.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I feel that. It's not going to change us.
Right.
You know, I hope we make 1 or 2 with certain next year. That'd be nice. But we play a certain way. That's the way we're playing. We like that way. We think we have the players to play that way. We have different players. You got to play different ways. But we try to exploit what we have. We got 2 of the best ISO players in the game.
It's a good formula. More open court coaches coming up.
I think most of our problems come in when guys don't play. You know, all the kids want to be successful. They all want to, you know, be that guy. And my motto is just be a star in your role. You know, whatever your role is, to help win, for the team to win. And a lot of guys can't buy into that.
Back at the Win Intrigue from Las Vegas for this edition of Open Court Head Coaches. Igor, what can you learn about rookie players, the guys you're just getting to know, that you couldn't scout beforehand, that you couldn't see on tape or hear in an interview once you have them inside your program, on your roster?
Well, having a young player on your team, I always use analogies like seeing beautiful girl. You don't know anything about her until you start dating the girl. So this is just a chance for us as a coaches just to really have a better feel for a player, and not just as a person, as who he is, you know, and how coachable he is, how open he is to get better, and his you know, ability to play game of the basketball. So it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to spend some time with young guys and to know what in the next couple months they have to work on to be ready for camp, because it's a completely different game.
What kinds of things can't you know until you spend the time?
You know what kind of person they are. I think when you build an organization, I mean, building a culture in an organization, you have to know who these kids are. And like Mike said, there's some good kids that come in the league. You know, they don't really know what they're doing and who they want to become yet, but you have to teach them that. But having these young guys coming in now, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, because now I'm older. You know, Colin Sexton is 19, 20 years old. I'm 41. So now, you know, I can talk to those guys about how we played in the old days and what we did, you know. But I can't talk to Richard Jefferson and Kyle Korver and
Yeah, you'll become much better with the young guys.
Yeah.
How good you are. Kyle knew you had the truth.
So it's different, but I'm excited about it. Some new challenges, but more hands-on now. I think I can get on the floor more and work with these guys and try to teach them more. And that's what I'm most excited about right now.
What are the qualities you're dying to find out about when a guy gets on your roster?
I think toughness, basketball IQ, just overall understanding of the game. And, you know, Ty's right. And, you know, if you have good veterans that can help these young guys along the way, that's very helpful. You know, we got Robin Lopez as a guy that's an unbelievable mentor to our young bigs. You got a guy in Justin Holiday that does a great job with our perimeter guys. Even looking back to a couple years ago when we had Rondo, he was unbelievable at taking those young guys and getting them extra work and showing them the right way to be a pro. You know, but just to look at, you know, their overall skill set, how they fit into a team setting, you know, what type of structure they have. You have to, you know, look at each guy and what they are. But, you know, it's fun to get them in there and start working with them and get your hands on them and seeing what you have. And, you know, again, with the young team, it's extra important to do that. And then, again, the veterans that can help those guys along the way.
Are there conversations you can have with a guy who's just into the roster that tell you something about him, or do you have to watch him work and watch him play?
You got to watch him. And, you know, I always think about, I played with a guy named Mario Ellie in San Antonio. And when a young guy was having a good practice, Mario would go, let's see you do it when the popcorn's popping. You know, see what you do when the lights are on. And that's what I'm looking for with these young guys is you know about their skill sets, you've watched tape, but like Donovan Mitchell's a great example, right? A lot of people passed on him. He's not, you know, he's not that big. I think he's 6'3", good prospect coming in. He's obviously got something that goes way beyond what you saw on tape.
Right.
He believes, and he's going to be a superstar. And I think that's what you're looking for, starting in summer league, but then in camp, is does the guy really have that confidence that it takes to perform at this level?
Why can't folks find that always on tape, watching a college kid?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, first of all, you only see them for a season. You know, they're one and done, and they are in the NBA. But that's what our scouts do. You know, our scouts and our GMs, you know, they are watching these kids from, you know, when they're in middle school, high school, AAU, basketball. You know, when we do get them, you're a mentor. You know, you're kind of a father figure to those kids. You spend time with them. You have lunch with them. And you try to learn how to reach them. You know, so it does take time. And they're so young. Most of our guys coming into the league at 19, 20 now.
Mike, I can't imagine a player not enjoying playing for you.
Oh, there's been a bunch of them.
But
That's, yeah.
how often do you find that you just can't connect with a guy?
Well-
It just doesn't exist. And what do you do?
Well, you just keep trying, and then go to the general manager and try to move him along. Try to let one of these other guys have him. Say good luck. You know, it's you just try to do the best you can do, and you're not going to connect with everybody, and you can't and not everybody's going to like the way you approach them, and you are who you are. And if you are who you are, some people don't like you, who you are. So I just take it, as you get older, you just keep trying, but you don't take it personally. And it just didn't work out, wasn't a good fit. And also could be the time that you have them. It could be different later on. You see them later on, they're different, you're different, situation's different. So you just keep an open mind, keep working.
Fred, how often do you run into that situation where you're just not clicking with a player?
Well, it happens. It happens with everybody. It's I think Mike said it best. You just have to continue to try to build a relationship. You have to find out, how you get to a guy, how you can find a way to build a relationship. It takes a lot of one-on-one meetings. You really do. You bring a guy into your office after a game. If you have a disagreement, all right, let's talk about this. How do we build from this? How do we move on and get past it, and for the betterment of the team? So, it is. It's so important what we do, more than the X's and O's, is finding a way to get our guys to go out there and perform at their highest level. And it is different for certain guys than it is others. I mean, you'd like to say you treat all 15 of your players the exact same way, but that's, the reality is that's not true. And, again, it just takes a lot of time to build it up, to find out what makes players tick.
I think most of our problems come in when guys don't play. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest adjustment. And the second thing is when guys are not allowed to play the way they want to play. But maybe what you want to do doesn't fit the system that we're trying to play, and it's tough. All the kids want to be successful. They all want to, be that guy or that person. And sometimes, when I came in the league, it was great to be a great role player. And my motto is just be a star in your role. Whatever your role is, to help win, for the team to win. And a lot of guys can't buy into that. So it's tough, but, you got to continue to just keep working with them. And when they finally get it, you're like, oh, they got it. And that's a gratifying part of coaching, is when you see someone that it was tough at first, it was rocky, but then they finally got it, they matured, and they understand what their role is and what you need them to do, and they're willing to do that to win. And then, it all becomes worth it.
Dealing with the media, and there are a lot of us, when we come back on Open Court.
The hard thing is there's so many rumors that get thrown out there, and the lack of accountability for the stories that are false. But, it's part of the job. It's a part of the pressure that we deal with.
Back on Open Court, head coaches here from Las Vegas. We touched on part of your responsibility as a head coach is dealing with the media on a regular basis. But there's a lot of it, and there's more media than ever. National, international, traditional media, non-traditional media, digital, social media, etc. What to you crosses a line in terms of fair versus unfair questions?
I went from Ames, Iowa, where there was two people there, the Des Moines Register and the Ames Tribune, and you go into Chicago and you got 30 people there every day with all the different news stations and all the radio people, and then you got the different newspapers and the columnists, and now you got the bloggers. And the hard thing is there's so many rumors that get thrown out there, and the lack of accountability for the stories that are false. That's hard. It's hard to deal with that a lot of times. But it is what it is. It's the era that we live in. Social media, in my opinion, is going to be the end of all of us eventually. It's just, there's so much negativity out there that you have to deal with. But, it's part of the job. It's a part of the pressure that we deal with. As far as what's fair, what's not fair, I don't think you worry about that. You just try to do the best job you can as far as getting the message that you want out there.
You've been really outspoken on a lot of topics, obviously. What in your mind is inbounds, what's out of bounds in terms of a question to an NBA head coach?
That's a hard question to answer. I mean, I think, Fred said it. You're going to get a ton of questions. People are going to try to set you up. The number of times you meet with the media, especially on a playoff game, like shoot around before the game, after the game. So they're firing everything at you. They're going to ask you a trick question, and they're going to set you up, and you have to answer it diplomatically, but maybe get your point across and try to give them enough to feed the beast, but maybe not too much that's going to expose your team. And it feels like you're kind of always walking a fine line with that.
over the line is when they try to tell you what you should have done, you know. And if that's not my philosophy, that's not what I believe in, you shouldn't tell, you know, the coach what he should have done. It's already tough on us as it is. And, you know, when that happens, you know, it's tough. But just dealing with the media, like Steve said before, you know, a playoff game, you got, you know, after shoot around, you got ESPN radio, then you get to the arena, you got to sit down with the ESPN crew, then you got Fox Sports, then you have the podium, then you come back, you got an interview between the first or the third quarter, then you got the post game. I mean, it's just like 7 times a day, and, you know, you have to be on, no matter if it's a tough game, tough loss, you know, you have to be, you know, ready for that media. And, you know, Doc Rivers taught me that a long time ago. You know, I used to go watch his press conferences, you know, when I was assistant coach, and, like, how could you just handle that question so easy? Like, it's a tough question, tough situation, tough circumstances, but he was always great, and he always had a way around it, you know, and to answer the question, but always avoiding the question, if you understand what I'm saying.
For the record, I've had lots of people avoid my questions over the years. I'm pretty used to it. Igor, are you ready for all that?
Well, we'll see, but I don't have a choice. I think it's a part of the package, right?
You don't have a choice.
But, you know, definitely, I think you have to be respectful. We understand how media is important, and it's a bridge between consumers, the fans. We play, and we enjoy doing what we love and what we have a passion for, and it's all about the fans. Like Coach Mike was talking about, you have to be yourself and show them respect, and you shouldn't be afraid to make decision. Every decision, take the risk. When it comes to the starting lineup rotations, why you didn't do it something or you did, I think you shouldn't be scared to coach and make decisions for your team. And then if you win the game, you're right. And if you lose, you're definitely wrong. So that's it's a very simple.
These are obviously great jobs. There are only 30 of them in the world. But there's a lot to it. What grinds on you over the course of the 82 and then the playoffs, not to mention the preseason?
I mean, I enjoy it. You know, we take it one day at a time, one game at a time. And when you have a good group, such as I did this year, it was fun. You know, it was really fun to come in and go to work. And the season seemed like it went by fast. You know, our guys came. It did.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It just seemed like it went by, you know, fast. I enjoyed coming in and working with our guys, and it really wasn't much of a grind. But this is probably one of many years that I've had a season like this.
Yeah. I hear some disagreement, some dissent over here.
I wasn't disagreement. I was laughing. Because, you know, I've had those years.
Yeah.
I've had those years. You know, I've had different years where challenges come up and, you know, the pressure is different for different people because your expectations are higher or lower. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have great coaches. Some coaches win 28 games and do a great job. Well, because they should have won 24, you know, and they owe, but, you know, everybody else, as soon as you sign somebody pretty good, they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe not.
You kind of chuckled at Nate saying the season flew by. What do you think you've learned in your still relatively short head coaching career about managing the season, especially the length of season you've had?
I don't know. Still trying to figure that out. You know, I've been coaching for 2.5 years, but it feels like it's been 10. You know, I swear, I promise. And, you know, going to the finals 4 years straight, you know, playing against Steve. And it's a tough grind. I mean, for me, it is. I mean, for me, it was. You know, it was a tough grind, you know, every year. Just, you know, our team had a lot of scrutiny. And, you know, we have the best player in the world with LeBron. You know, if he wears a different shoestring in his shoe, it's a story. Or, you know, if he walks by the bench and didn't see you have your hand out, it's a story. So it's just like, you know, from week to week, you never know what you're going to get. And that's the toughest part because I'm more of a shy, you know, guy. I like to be in the background, like the media attention, you know. So when you look on TV and you see the Cavs on TV every single day and it's about something, it's tough because I love the game of basketball so much. And, you know, you want to watch and you want to see what everyone's doing. But then again, like Igor said, you can't read it. You can't look at it. You just got to kind of stay in your place and stay in your lane. And that's probably been the most difficult part.
Here's wishing you a season that flies by like Nate's did.
I hope so.
Well, I appreciate your attention in this setting, at least. answering all these
What'd you
questions.
say?
I was
I was ignoring you for a second.
Guys, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Igor, Mike, Steve, Ty, Nate, Fred, thanks one and all.
Thank you very much.
That'll do it for Open Court. Coaches from Las Vegas.